Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small.
Why, hey there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 155 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making me one of them. I know I say it every week, but I really do appreciate you tuning in and listening to my podcast. Of course, if you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love you to take a screenshot and share it on your socials and tag me, because that would be super cool. Because there's one thing that the analytics let down when it comes to podcasts is I don't know everybody who listens to my podcast, and I love nothing more than getting a DM or, being tagged on social media from someone who's listening, because it just warms my heart and I get to know you a little bit better. And of course, if you're looking for the show notes for this episode, you can of course find them on my website, which will be at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/155. But today, I'm just a wee bit excited to be bringing you this episode because it's a subject we haven't spoken about, but it's one I suspect will resonate with you because, well, at least it did me. And perhaps I revealed a little bit too much of myself on this podcast. But I really did love this chat. We're talking about money, mindset, and money blocks and how it affects us as small business owners. Now, I know for a fact that I need to work on this, and maybe it needs to be on my 2022 goal list, perhaps. But I know I can just feel it whenever I think about it, whenever I've listened back on this episode or other, things that I see on social. It is something that I believe I do need to work on. So, of course, that's my confession 101 for my podcast today. But today I've got Christine Corcoran, and she's on the podcast, and she's going to speak to us all about money and money mindset. Christine is a business mindset master coach. She's a speaker and the co-founder of Rise Up Conference and creator of the Energetics of Money program. Christine has the incredible ability to get to the root cause of what's holding you back, up-level your money mindset, and set you up for success with an unstoppable confidence and belief in your ability to succeed. She really does love helping women rediscover their inner magic, overcome their mindset blocks, and ultimately get out of their own way so they can flourish in freedom and impact with the business that they love. Christine also has a podcast which is bi-weekly. It's called Next Level Life Podcast. So if you're interested, and obviously you're a podcast listener, then maybe head over and check out Christine's podcast as well. But if I've got you a little bit intrigued to talk about money mindset and money blocks, then let's do this together. Let's hear all the gold and wisdom from Christine, and let's unblock our money blocks together. It's a great episode. I really hope you enjoy it, but let's go. Christine, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today to talk to us about a topic that we haven't really spoken about on my podcast. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure. So we are going to talk all around money mindset, which is not something we've actually talked much on the podcast about before. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and maybe we'll get into what money mindset is as well?
Sure. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about, so you will not be able to keep me quiet. So I'm a business mindset coach. So I work with women in business, coaches, creatives, anyone in business that basically wants to go to the next level but have realized that there's something stopping them. So I help them stop self-sabotaging their success. I help them shift any money blocks that are stopping them from achieving that next level of income and really help them get out of their own way, to be honest. It's something that I'm so passionate about ever since working with understanding the mindset and understanding our belief systems in our brain and how that works, and then being able to create some really epic processes to help shift subconsciously, because that's where it all comes from. And we can get so caught up in thinking we know what we need to do, but then if we're not taking action towards that, that's where the subconscious mind is driving all of our behavior. So I work with some certain processes like NLP, matrix therapies, hypnotherapy, MBIT, which is M-braining, which is understanding different neural networks in the body. And I help create inner alignment for outer success.
Wow. Okay. You've mentioned a lot of words there that really I don't know much about. But before we get into what all those words mean, how did you get into it?
So I was actually working in corporate in a business development role. So I was working with business owners to help them grow their business, and it was very strategy focused. And so we would take the strategy to the business owners and help them implement it. And then it would help grow their business. And what I would find is that some business owners would take that strategy and run with it and be really successful. And then other business owners would do nothing. And I'd see them again in a month's time and I'd be like, what is going on? Like, I gave you the same strategy and I know it works because we've proven that it works. And I would just get so frustrated, and mainly with myself, because I was like, what am I not doing that allows them to be able to implement it? What can I do to improve the way that I communicate it? What can I do to improve the way that we're putting it into place for their business? And what it all came down to was actually their mindset. So they were the ones doubting whether it would work. They were the ones doubting their worth, their business, their leadership skills. And so what I did is actually went and studied human behavior to begin with. It was my first kind of dive into mindset work. And it was very focused on communication styles. So understanding how to communicate it with someone else's communication style so they could really take that information, process it, and then implement it. And I found that that was really quite helpful. And I loved that side of it. It was really understanding what makes people tick, which was super exciting for me. And I implemented it, saw some really great results, and then was like, this stuff is the best, and got so obsessed that I just kept studying. So I've then heard about this thing called coaching, then heard about NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, just understanding the brain and how we attach words and meaning, and where all of our belief systems have come from, our life experiences, like all of the things are basically our imprint, our blueprint of our identity. And then we always behave in accordance with that. So I was able to implement that with the business owners I was working in corporate, saw some epic results, and was like, I'm so obsessed with this. I just want to do mindset. So now I help women to basically get out of their own way, and we do all the deep mindset work to uncover where their current blueprint is holding them back. And then we unlearn all the things that they've learned about themselves, about business, about success, about money, and then help them create a whole new blueprint of the person they want to become in business.
Yeah. Okay. That's the best explanation I could have asked for. Thank you.
No worries.
There are lots of things, like you spoke at the very start about, what you do can help people take their business to the next level. There is a lot of things out there that can help people take their businesses to the next level. How do we know when it's a money mindset thing that is stopping us? What are the signs? What are the symptoms of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it can show up differently for different people, but understanding where a scarcity mindset is coming from and understanding how our mindset could be limiting us. Okay, so some of the symptoms could be undercharging, not seeing our value by undercharging, or over delivering, trying to prove our worth. It can come from a place of where we receive money, but we doubt we deserve it, and then we sabotage it. So we might get rid of it really quickly, end up just overspending or being over generous. It can show up in lots of different ways in the way that we interact with it daily. So if it makes us feel a certain way, we will sabotage it because we don't feel safe with the amount of money that we're earning. The other way it can show up is different thresholds. So let's just say that maybe in your previous job role, maybe you were in a corporate role beforehand and you only earned $80,000 a year. We attach that part of our blueprint is literally like, well, I've been paid $80,000 a year. That's what I'm worth. And I'm using, inverted commas, what we believe we're worth. And then what we will do is we will push up against that ceiling. And if we go over it, we'll often sabotage it to bring ourselves back down to that safety net of that threshold. So it can show up like that. Other times it can show up in a way that we actually don't even take action towards the things that we want to do, because that could bring in more income, and that doesn't feel safe, or it doesn't feel like who we want to be. So we can have so many belief systems like money is dirty, money is filthy, people who have money are greedy, people who are rich, add in whatever you've been told in the past. everyone has different belief systems around what it means to have a lot of wealth. And so sometimes when we're working towards a bigger goal, or we're actually welcoming more money into our business, if we believe that that creates a belief system about us, or we fear that other people in our life will judge us for having that amount of money, we don't want that to happen, right? We want to feel safe and feel like we belong within our tribe, with our family and friends. So if we fear that they will judge us with money, then we will sabotage it so we stay on the same level as them, so we feel like we belong. So that's a few different symptoms in the way that it can show up.
Yeah. Okay. So if people are recognizing this, maybe they've listened to the podcast, maybe they listen to your podcast, maybe they follow people on social media, how do we start working on this? What are those little micro or nano steps, or the big steps that we can take to maybe start unblocking this?
So it all starts with awareness. We need to be aware of it before we can change it. So we need to be aware of the behaviors, and we need to be aware of the belief systems or the feelings that we're experiencing, because money is an energy. But at some point in the world, someone decided that it was going to be of value. Okay. And so we then have pieces of paper and coins, and we have numbers on a bank account, and we give it so much power, when really all it is an energy. So we need to start to look at, well, what are we giving it so much power for? And I know we need it as part of life existence, right? We need it. So it's like, how is the relationship we're having with money affecting our life? So we want to look at the core behaviors, the belief systems that we've held on to, and uncover where they've come from. So sometimes it's as simple as just journaling on, throughout the week, when you've interacted with money, how did you feel and what did you think? Right? So when was the last time even you made a big investment? What did you tell yourself? How did you feel about it when you were spending that money? Or when you didn't spend the money, right? Sometimes we'll have a belief system of like, oh, I can't afford that. And it's not necessarily true, right? We just choose not to prioritize that. We choose to spend our money elsewhere. And so we want to recognize what belief systems are currently stopping us from believing there's more available to us. Now, these belief systems have most likely been ingrained in you since you were quite little. We have an imprint phase between the ages of 0 to 7, when we first experience human emotion, and when we're learning, basically our brain is a sponge and we're learning how to survive in the world. And so we don't have the conscious awareness to be able to have context or understand multiple contexts. So we don't see as a child that, hey, mum and dad are fighting about money. We take that on board as money's a bad thing, right? And especially if they've got belief systems about money, maybe they're like, well, we don't have enough, right? We can't afford this. Or they may even judge other people with money in front of you. And so then you take on board, well, this must be bad, right? And then what we do is, with that belief system, is then we go out into the world, and as we grow and our brains expand and develop, we then learn more information. But if we've already embedded a really deep belief system about money not being good, then we will find evidence in our world, in our existence, to prove that to be true. So we're constantly behaving in accordance with that belief, right? This is where it's so fascinating to me, because it's like, no matter what the belief, and we do have quite a few common beliefs that I see a lot of female entrepreneurs have, but it sometimes is so unique. Like, I remember having a client where we worked through this, and she was like, every time that we talked about money and what she was bringing into her business, she'd get this look on her face, like this disgusted, like, look on her face. And I was like, okay, we need to unpack what the hell is going on there. And so when we talked about money, she's like, oh, I don't know, I just get this feeling like it's ugh. And I'm like, so does it feel like, is it not clean for you? Because I don't ever want to put words in my clients' mouths. It's just like, yeah, it's dirty. It's really dirty. I'm like, okay, so let's actually unpack where that came from. Like, is that your belief, or did someone else tell you? Like, how do you know that it's dirty? And so what we actually did is unpacked and found a memory where she was quite little, and she picked up money off the ground. She picked up a coin off the ground with her mum, where she was down the shop somewhere. And she picked up this coin, and her mum slapped it out of her hand and was like, don't touch that, it's dirty. Right? And so she attached that money was dirty. And so then she went out into her world, and she had so many representations of that being true, that every single experience she would have with money, she would feel dirty.
Oh, wow.
And that's a very low vibrational energy. And imagine, if you think the money is dirty, do you reckon you're going to hold on to it?
No, not at all. No, my mum probably would have gotten crook if I put it in my mouth and told me it was dirty. But I used to plant money trees. I used to get money off, like my mum and dad, there would always be coins in the laundry or something like that from cleaning out the pockets. So I'd get like the 2 and 1 cent pieces and I'd go plant them in the garden. I was sure that I was going to grow a money tree. I don't know what that says about me, Christine. Maybe that's an off-air conversation we need to have, but it still hasn't grown. I'm still very disappointed. I still haven't got my money tree.
So I would love to know, like, where did you get that idea from?
I have no idea. I just have very, very vivid memories of planting 1 and 2 cent pieces all around the garden to grow a money tree.
And then how did your mum and dad talk about those money trees? Or
I don't even know if they
trees?
knew. I suppose I never took the 10 cent pieces or the 20 cent pieces because I might get in trouble for that. But I did take the 1s and 2s. But maybe I thought copper ones look like they would grow more. They look more earthy or something. Who would know?
Right. Love it. So see how it's so individual? Like, it's so unique to our own life experience. And we don't realize that the belief systems that are sitting in the subconscious mind are currently driving our behavior. And for that client of mine, she didn't realize that she was literally thinking, well, money is dirty. She just felt icky about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we talked about her bringing more money into her business, she would get this reaction, like this visceral reaction of like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
I was like, but what's the purpose of owning a business if you're not going to utilize money in a positive way? And I think the other thing too is people think that more money will either bring more problems or, you become this person that you don't necessarily want to become. But I believe money is an amplifier. Like, if you are a greedy person, it will most likely make you more greedy.
Yeah.
But if you are a generous person, you'll be more generous. Or if you're a person that creates things that bring good to the world, then you'll most likely utilize money for that too. So it's starting with just unpacking what do you currently believe about money, and do those belief systems serve you?
Yeah. Sorry, I was sorry to interrupt. I was also going to ask, have you seen a real shift? Like, unfortunately, we can't go a podcast without mentioning that dirty C word, the COVID word. Have you seen a shift in women in business, like dealing with everything we're trying to deal with at the moment, whether it be homeschool or losing their job or having to pivot or whatever it is? Is that something, trends that you're seeing that, you could share with us?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, everyone's slightly different. So it really just depends on the situation they're in, because I think it's brought up so much fear. And I think when it first happened last year, it brought up these evolutionary fears that it was almost like, okay, we've got to deal with this now. Otherwise, my business won't continue, right? So I had a lot of clients that were like, let's pivot, let's change, let's use this, let's innovate, let's change the way that we do business. And that was really empowering to see, because they took it as an opportunity to grow rather than an opportunity to retract. So, and it all stems from where your current belief systems have been. Okay. So if we have a current belief system of scarcity, that there isn't enough, that there will never be enough, and that when I receive money, I'm taking it from somebody else, then that's a place of lack and scarcity. So then when things like these happen in the world, our normal reaction when we're in scarcity is to retract. So we'll go to save money, don't spend, hold on to it, go into like survival mode, right? And so that's definitely a pattern of behavior that I've seen, is that survival mode. And my passion is to get people out of that survival mode and into thriving, because no matter what is going on in the world, there is an opportunity to make money. They are printing money every single day. And when you look at how much money is currently circulating in the world, because we don't own it, it's always being circulated. There's about $17 trillion. Actually, I think it went up to 19 the other day. I Googled it the other day. I think it was 19.
We probably printed some more to get out of debt.
Exactly, right? Which God knows how that's going to work out in the end. But there's money always being printed. So when we go into that place of retracting, and I'm not saying it's not reality, like that's not what I'm saying here, is that yes, there are definitely some challenges along the way, but what meaning we place on it is going to impact how we behave and how we feel. So if we're like, I have no option, this is just it, I'm going to have to close my business, or I'm going to have to stop trading, like all of that, if from a scarcity headspace, can feel like a lot. And then our behaviors will obviously stay in that retraction mode. Whereas if we are able to go, okay, how is this an opportunity for me? how could I earn money in a different way? How could I innovate here in my business? And I think you need to, like, before we get there, obviously working on your money mindset and going from scarcity to abundance is important. But I must caveat this with, when we're experiencing high levels of fear, high levels of uncertainty, and there's consistent lockdowns in certain parts of the country, there is a grieving process that a lot of clients will go through. A lot of people will go through. And it's important that you still allow yourself to feel those feelings, because through the grieving process, you will get angry, you will be in denial, and you will go through the depths of the darkness. And if you work through it, you will get to a place of accepting where we're at. And then you can come to a place of, great, now how can I grow? How can I expand? But it's very difficult to go from stuck in scarcity, this is it, like I have no choices, no options, to, oh, look at all these options. It's that emotional journey that we need to go through. And you'll see, and everyone's journey is different. So this is where I think it's super important that you don't judge yourself when you see someone else showing up online and working through thriving, and it feels like you can't do that. It's super important that you just focus on your own journey and take care of you and get help if you need it, and get that support to get you through that journey so that you can come to that place of acceptance, which then brings us so much more choice, so many more options, and we can get into a growth mindset to look at the opportunity there to grow.
Yeah, that's some really great advice. Thank you. And I'm sure my listeners will really appreciate that. You've touched on it a little bit, certainly with your other answers, but I guess the next question that I sort of had was, why is this important to work on when it comes to business? And I know you've touched on it a little bit, but I just thought I'd give you the opportunity to maybe add anything else that you might have missed as to why should we work on our money mindset when it comes to our businesses?
Yeah, great question. So I feel like if you want to grow and expand, if you want to go to the next level and you want to be doing more, it's going to take a little bit more money, right? If you are going to want that lifestyle, if you are going to want to have really beautiful food in the fridge, if you're going to want to be able to travel when we can again, if you want to reach more people and make a bigger impact, then that takes money, right? And so we want to recognize, like, as I'm saying that, are you like having a reaction to that? Is like your head going like, well, no, I don't deserve more money, or, oh, I can't handle more money, or do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be that person. Like, if there's fear and doubt coming into play there, then this is where it's actually limiting you, because whatever you are focusing on with your business, the impact that you create, the change that you create for your clients, the solution that you give them, you could be impacting a lot more people with more money. And I believe that with more money in beautiful female entrepreneurial hands is going to be so much more beneficial for the world. So I feel like when it comes to understanding where you want to go with your business, now it doesn't have to be that you want $1 million business. That's not at all what I'm saying. It's important that you define what your version of success is, or what your version of next level is, and then decide, how do you want to live? And I think some people can go, well, I just want to be comfortable. And then that can also be a bit of a trap, because then we will actually stay in the comfort zone of our money, rather than going, well, what if you had an abundance? What would you do with that money if you had an abundance? There'd be so much more you could do, so much more you could give. Like, I was thinking the other day with my next launch. So I'm going to be launching a program in September for the second time. And I'm like, if I hit my stretch goal, I'm actually going to hire a cleaner for my sister, because she has a couple of little kids, and I just think it would be super fun to do that for her and to take that off her, because she's wanting to start a business. So I'm like, just come on, let's do this. And she's like, got so much on her plate. I'm like, far out. If I hit that stretch goal, I'm totally hiring her a cleaner to go in there weekly and do that for her, right? Because that's what we can do with money. We can do beautiful things and be generous, and it's always going to amplify who you are as a person. So I feel like it's, define what success means to you, define what it is that you would like, and please let yourself dream, right? Rather than limit, because we always go into, and I was doing this with a new client yesterday. I was like, great. So what would you like to be earning? And she was like, oh, I think I'd be comfortable with this amount of money. I'm like, that's not what I asked. What would you like to be earning? What would feel good? What would bring a level of abundance and lifestyle that you would like to experience? She was like, oh. And so many women are so scared to actually want more.
But do they know the answer and they're just as scared to say it out loud, or do they actually not know the answer?
Yeah, usually they know,
Yeah.
Or they've avoided it for a long time. So they could have a belief system of like, it's not okay to want more, right? You have to be grateful for what we've got, and it's, be a good little girl, and like all of these, society things that come into play. But yeah, so she did know. She was just, sometimes when you get them to say it out loud, it's like, oh, that's like a declaration and it can feel really big and scary, but that's growth in itself, right?
Yeah.
Like declaring what you want and putting it out to the world, putting it out to the universe is how you actually get it. So we've got to be comfortable to say that and recognize that what is the fear around saying it out loud and actually wanting more? Is it that you'll be judged for wanting more? Is it that, well, if I say it, then I have to go after it and that's scary? Or is it that we go, well, I don't want to be that person who has a pursuit in money, right? Like there's so much negative connotation around money in this world. It's crazy. And we're fed to it. We're fed it with movies and, you know, role models in the world. Like I was chatting to one of my friends the other day, and I was saying to her, like, how many female representations do we have in the world of really wealthy women in business? Right? We've got entertainment, right? We've got beauty and supermodels, but how many do we have that are like thriving in business?
Yeah.
And how often do we judge them and tear them down, right? Like we're constantly pitted against each other. And I think that without that representation, it doesn't feel safe to get to that level. So then we don't want to put ourselves in that position. We don't want to thrive or not thrive. We don't want to pursue that because it could potentially be dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting, very thought-provoking for sure. I don't know whether you can answer this or not, but why do you work with women? Is there a difference between the money mindset of people identifying as male as opposed to people identifying as female?
There is a little bit,
Okay.
right? So I'm passionate about helping women. That's just my focus. It's not that I don't work with men. I have worked with men in the past. I just love working with women. It's just what I'm lit up by.
Yeah.
So, and yes, there is a slight difference in regards to men's mindset with that, but we all have mindset blocks when it comes to money. All of us, right? We're not, because I think we're a product of our environment. So when you think about our generations that have come before, they have had a lot of scarcity, right? They did work really hard to earn their money. Right? There was war times, right? There was famine. Like there's so much when it comes to our generation. So that's where it's fed down to us, right? Your dad said it to then his son, and then the son said it to then his son, and the son said it to his son, because, and it's similar. Like, you know how sometimes like you parent your kids and then you hear your mum or dad's voice as you're saying it.
Yeah. You open your mouth and your mum just fell out. Yep.
Yeah,
know that.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. Like it's subconsciously there. You don't realize it until you say it or you unpack it like this. And so, so with men, I think the difference is that men are encouraged to pursue wealth and success. Right? There's a big representation of it in the world of very successful men, but from a younger age, they're encouraged to obviously go to university, get a really high paying job and thrive, right? It's encouraged. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure with that as well. And then with women, look, it is changing very much so, but in the older generations, it was encouraged to get married and have babies. And the focus wasn't whole and solely on providing for your family and being successful and thriving with money, right? And having wealth. So I think like some of those societal things or patriarchal things are starting to be broken down, which is great. But it is slightly different for women as well. But I work mainly with women. That's why I really speak to that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. It was just a little bit curious, I guess. This has been a great conversation. As you're speaking, I've got little things popping into my head all the time. So it's been very thought provoking. Thank you so much for your time today and chatting to us all about money mindset. Is there anything that maybe you would like to finish off with, or anything that you haven't talked about yet just before we finish up?
Well, I think with anything, we can get so caught up in doing what we're surrounded with. So we often stay comfortable because we're comfortable within the tribe that we spend time with. And I use that because that's how our brain works, right? It's literally from a prehistoric time. Our brain hasn't evolved. So we want to feel safe with the people that we feel like we belong with. So that's our family, whether that's our friends. One of my most favorite tips to share with people when it comes to working on your money mindset is have a look at the 5 most people you spend your time with and have a look about how they treat and experience money. So are they hoarders? Are they spenders? Are they, wealth creators, like what do they do with money? Because you will be adopting their belief systems the more you spend time with them. So you want to start to choose and expand your circle of influence with people that do see money very differently, right? Because poor people create more poor people. And, there's less mindset shifts when it comes to people with wealth. They think about things very differently. So starting to think about how you surround yourself with the people that have a wealth mindset or a growth mindset, that look at money in a different direction, a different way, that will help you expand your way of thinking around money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You are the product of the 5 people you hang around the most. Say it often. 100% agree. If you've said something on the podcast or someone is super interested to dig a little bit deeper into this, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
So yeah, you can check out my podcast called The Next Level Life Podcast. Otherwise, I hang out probably most on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well, but I hang out probably most on Instagram at @ChristineCorcoran_coach. And then if I can actually give you a little gift, if you like, I've got a little a guide on 10 money mindset shifts to supercharge your business. So I can give you the link to pop that in the show notes, and you're welcome to gift that to your listeners if you like.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Thank you so much. Of course, all those links will be in the show notes. Thank you again for opening our, expanding our knowledge, I guess, around money mindset, and opening our ears a little bit to some of the things that you teach and some of the things that, surround us that we're not quite aware of just yet. But it's been great. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Lots to think about. Hey. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. It was a really great episode to record and get to know Christine a little bit more. But it also made me think, and I must admit this episode was recorded a few months ago, so I'm still thinking about some of the things that she said in that episode. I'd love you to maybe share a little bit of what you thought over in my Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group, especially if this podcast brought anything up for you or made your mindset shift a little bit when it comes to money. Anyway, I'd just love to hear what you thought. So head over to the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group and let's have a chat there. Or of course, if you want to chat to me personally, let's book a discovery call and I can see where I can help you further. Maybe not with money mindset, but definitely with your marketing and your business strategies. I can certainly help with that. If you want to book a call, just head to my website, socialmediamarketing.com.au, and book an appointment there. But that's it for episode 155. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I would really love you to hit the subscribe button and maybe share it with another superstar business owner who's doing that daily grind, who maybe has money blocks as well and would really like to hear some of the gold that Christine shares in this podcast. Massive love coming your way if you can do either of those things. Otherwise, I'll see you next week on episode 156. But in the meantime, are we friends on social media? I hope we are. If we're not, reach out to me on Instagram at @JenDonovan_, or of course on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, because I'd love to get to know you a little bit more. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.